Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're plunging into a concept that's truly timeless, yet feels incredibly relevant right now. The interconnectedness of all things. You've provided us with this fascinating collection of sources, everything from ancient spiritual texts to, cutting-edge scientific reports, all digging into this idea.
Yeah, it's quite a range.
So our mission today is basically to navigate this universal web and pull out those surprising facts, those profound insights that seem to link everything, from the smallest quantum particles right up to vast human societies.
Right.
Think of this as your essential shortcut, maybe, to understanding a worldview that really challenges some of our everyday assumptions.
It's really remarkable how this theme just surfaces independently across so many different areas of human thought. And discovery, too.
Yeah.
Defined simply, as the state where different parts are mutually joined and related, we're going to explore its deep philosophical roots, its surprising scientific resonance, and, of course, its profound human implications. And, importantly, we'll need to clarify some key distinctions, just to avoid common misinterpretations.
Sure.
Because what's truly fascinating, I think, is how this whole perspective shifts our entire understanding of ourselves. Our place within the cosmos.
So what does this actually mean for you, listening? We're here to guide you through this material, highlight the most important nuggets of knowledge, and show you how this idea of interconnectedness carries some incredibly practical implications for how we understand ourselves, how we build our communities, and how we define our relationship with the wider universe. This is going to be a fun one. Okay, let's start our deep dive by looking at just how ancient the roots of interconnectedness really are. This isn't some, new age fad.
Not at all.
It's what's often called a perennial philosophy, right? Something woven through countless spiritual and contemplative traditions across the globe, spanning millennia.
Exactly. These ancient systems, they offer incredibly sophisticated frameworks for perceiving reality, not as separate pieces, but as a unified dynamic whole.
Right.
It often stands in, let's say, stark contrast to the more individual-centric focus we sometimes see in Western thought.
Yeah, definitely.
And it's crucial to get the nuance here. Some traditions emphasize a really dynamic, relational interconnectedness, where things are constantly influencing each other. Others lean more towards a substantive oneness, the idea that everything is fundamentally one single essence.
Interesting distinction.
Yeah. So take Buddhism. At the heart of Buddhist philosophy is pratityasamutpada.
Dependent origination.
Dependent origination, exactly.
Yeah.
This core teaching asserts that all phenomena arise in dependence upon other phenomena. It's fundamental.
Okay.
The Buddhist formula, it sounds simple, but it's profound. When there is this, that is. With the arising of this, that arises. When this is not, neither is that. With the cessation of this, that ceases.
So that's not just a straightforward A causes B kind of thing, is it?
No.
It sounds much more like a multi-directional web.
Precisely. It means nothing has an independent inherent essence, a concept they call anatta or no self. And this leads directly to the idea of impermanence, Annika. Everything's always changing because it's all interdependent.
This immediately makes me think of Thich Nhat Hanh's wonderful concept of interbeing. He uses that example of a simple sheet of paper.
Oh, that's a perfect illustration. Yeah, it really captures shunyata or emptiness.
Which isn't nothingness.
Exactly, not non-existence, but the absence of a separate independent self. So the paper is empty of a separate self because, well, it utterly depends on sunshine, rain, trees, loggers, factories.
Everything else.
Everything else. You remove any non-paper element, and the paper just can't be. It highlights this constantly dynamic process, not some static web.
Okay.
And this doctrine, it also explains human suffering, dukkha, through what's known as the 12 nidanas. It's this incredibly detailed causal chain.
Right, the links.
Yeah, showing how even seemingly small acts of craving or clinging perpetuate this, predictable cycle of suffering. Which also means liberation isn't mysterious. It's about understanding and breaking that chain.
Fascinating. Okay, so shifting gears slightly.
Right, so if we shift from that relational interdependence, Advaita Vedanta in Hinduism speaks of a more substantive oneness.
Okay.
The core teaching here is the absolute unity of all existence, rooted in Brahman.
Brahman, the ultimate reality.
The single, all-pervading, ultimate reality.
Yes. So what we typically think of as our individual self, our Atman, you're saying that's actually Brahman itself.
That's the core insight, yeah. It sounds radical, like the me completely dissolves into something much larger.
It does.
Think of the analogy of a wave in the ocean.
Okay.
It looks distinct, it's unique, sure, but fundamentally it is the ocean itself.
Ah, I see.
The perceived separation, what they call Maya, is considered an illusion. So the goal, the spiritual goal, is to realize that Atman is Brahman, and that realization, they say, naturally leads to universal compassion.
Makes sense.
It's important to note, though, Hinduism isn't monolithic. Advaita is hugely influential, yes. But you have other schools like Dvaita Vedanta, which emphasizes dualism, or Asincha Bheda Abheda, talking about inconceivable oneness and difference. So there's a lot of complexity there
Yeah.
in how unity and diversity are conceptualized.
Right. It's not just one simple idea.
Definitely not. Then you have Taoism, which offers a distinct, often quite poetic perspective. It centers on the Tao, the way,
The way.
which is seen as both the source and the underlying natural order of the entire universe, kind of the mother of all things.
And that's where yin and yang come in, right? Often misunderstood as just opposites.
Exactly. They're not opposites, but complementary, interdependent energies.
Yeah.
You have the creative, assertive yang and the receptive, yielding yin, the classic taijutsu symbol, the swirling dark and light,
Yeah, with the dots.
each containing that small dot of the other. It beautifully illustrates this constant transformation and flow. Lao Tzu really emphasized one simply cannot exist without the other.
Right.
And the ultimate aim is to live in harmony with this cosmic flow, a state known as Wu Wei.
Which doesn't mean doing nothing.
No, that's a common misunderstanding. It's more like
Yeah.
effortless, spontaneous action. Action that aligns perfectly with the natural rhythm of things.
It's one thing to talk about these, ancient philosophies, but how does this idea actually manifest in a truly lived way? Indigenous cultures seem key here.
Absolutely.
Many indigenous cultures across the globe really embody this, don't they? Often encapsulated in phrases like all my relations or mitakuye or yasin in Lakota. What does that truly mean in practice?
It's such a profound and incredibly active statement of kinship. It reaches far beyond your immediate human family.
Cool.
It embraces ancestors, future generations, your entire community, but also all life forms, animals, plants, and the land itself, the water, the sky, even the rocks. Everything is seen as connected, as having purpose and deserving deep respect.
So it sounds like a fundamental rejection of the idea that humans are somehow separate from or, superior to nature.
Completely. Absolutely. The sacred circle, which is a common symbol in many traditions, beautifully represents this unified whole. Physical, emotional, spiritual, intellectual aspects of life, they're all seen as inseparable from the land and the community.
Right.
And this translates directly into a robust, living, ethical framework. It's all about reciprocity, responsibility, stewardship, maintaining balance for collective well-being, taking only what's needed, and always, always giving back.
That's powerful. Now, shifting to the West.
Yeah, now, Western thought has often, put a strong emphasis on individualism. But even within this tradition, we find these surprising echoes of interconnectedness.
Like who?
Well, the Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius, for instance, he wrote about sympathia.
Sympathy. Yeah.
Yeah, kind of cosmic sympathy. He saw the entire universe as bound together, like a single living organism. He truly believed in the fundamental unity of all things.
Interesting. And within Western theology, doesn't the concept of creational interconnectedness sort of fit here too?
It does, absolutely. This veer sees all of creation as intrinsically related through a divine creator.
Okay.
It's understood as a dynamic reality, one with deep moral significance. So human actions have real repercussions for this entire web of divinely loved beings, and that explicitly includes the environment.
Right.
It powerfully emphasizes our responsibility for both the direct and also the indirect consequences of our choices.
Okay, so we've explored how all this ancient wisdom from really diverse traditions consistently points towards an interconnected universe. But here's where it gets, for me, really fascinating. Modern science, working from entirely different methods, is independently discovering its own compelling parallels.
That's exactly right. And it's important to frame this correctly. This isn't about science somehow proving spiritual worldviews.
Oh, sure.
It's more about seeing how this deep intuition, this idea of a universal web, is actually finding empirical grounding in fields like quantum physics, ecology, complexity science, and it's genuinely challenging that old reductionist view.
Yeah.
The idea that you could just break everything down into isolated parts.
Yeah, the clockwork universe idea.
Exactly. And the most profound challenge to that fragmented reality probably comes from quantum mechanics.
Okay.
Quantum entanglement is just a truly striking example. You have two or more particles, they become inextricably linked, They form a single quantum state, regardless of the distance separating them.
So you mean if you measure one particle, you instantly know the state of the other one, even if it's light years away. That's the thing Einstein called spooky action at a distance.
Yeah, that's the one. And, you know, countless experiments have confirmed it. They've even ruled out various hidden variables that might explain it in a classical way.
Wow.
So this really reveals a fundamental level where the universe isn't just separate parts interacting. It's, in some sense, an indivisible whole.
An indivisible whole.
Yeah, it's like the whole system contains more information than you'd get just by adding up the information in its individual components.
That's hard to wrap your head around.
It is. Physicist David Bohm, he famously proposed this idea of wholeness and the implicate order.
Okay.
He suggests that the fragmented separate world we normally perceive, he called it the explicate order, is actually just an unfolding of a deeper, undivided implicate order where everything is interconnected in what he termed undivided wholeness.
Like a hologram.
Exactly like a hologram, where each tiny fragment of the film actually contains the entire image. So entanglement, from Bohm's perspective, isn't spooky at all. It's just a natural expression of this deeper, unified reality.
Okay, so if quantum physics shows this interconnectedness at the tiniest scale, ecology shows it on the grand scale of life itself, right here on Earth.
Absolutely. An ecosystem is, well, by definition, it's a complex network of intricate relationships. You have living organisms and their environment all interacting.
Like food webs.
Food webs are a great example. They beautifully illustrate how energy flows, but they also reveal vulnerabilities. Think about the story of DDT.
Oh, yeah.
How it biomagnified up the food chain, eventually devastating top predators like ospreys and bald eagles. It was such a stark, painful lesson in how seemingly isolated actions can have these unforeseen, far-reaching consequences.
And I instantly think about the wolves being reintroduced to Yellowstone National Park. That's like the classic, almost legendary example, isn't it?
It's a truly powerful one. A perfect example of a trophic cascade.
Right.
The wolves changed elk behavior, their grazing patterns. That allowed willow and aspen trees to recover along the riverbanks.
Okay.
This created new habitats for songbirds and beavers. Then the beavers built dams, which altered the river flow, benefiting fish populations.
Right.
Fewer coyotes meant more foxes and other small predators.
Oh, it just ripples out.
The entire ecosystem, right down to the soil microbes, was transformed, all triggered by restoring one keystone species. And this kind of observation leads directly to systems thinking. It's a holistic approach, right? Viewing things not in isolation, but as interconnected wholes. Key concepts are things like holism. The whole is greater than the sum of its parts' feedback loops, and especially emergent properties.
Emergent properties.
Yeah, these are new characteristics that arise from the complex interactions between the parts.
Yeah.
Properties you couldn't predict just by studying the parts in isolation. And this thinking, it applies not just to ecosystems, but to social systems, economic systems.
Okay, that makes sense. And then there's chaos theory, the butterfly effect. It always sounds so poetic.
It does, doesn't it? But it's mathematically rigorous. It describes a system that is deterministic, governed by fixed laws, but is nonetheless inherently unpredictable.
Because of sensitivity.
Exactly, because of extreme sensitivity to initial conditions. The famous idea is that a butterfly's wings flapping in Brazil could theoretically contribute to causing a tornado in Texas weeks later. It's a powerful mathematical model for the ripple effect. It shows how even small, localized actions can have these disproportionately large and often totally unpredictable global consequences, which, fundamentally underscores our profound responsibility in such an interconnected system.
Wow. Okay. And the ultimate connection point, the Big
Right.
Bang.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You can't get more connected than that. The Big Bang Theory, our best scientific model, tells us that all the matter and energy in the entire known universe originated from one incredibly hot, dense state about 13.8 billion years ago.
Everything from one point.
Everything. Carl Sagan's famous phrase, "We are all made of star stuff," captures it perfectly.
Love that quote.
Every single atom in our bodies, every rock, every distant star, we all share this astonishingly common ancestry. It really grounds that poetic vision of unity in a tangible, shared scientific history.
So, okay, this isn't just abstract theory then for philosophers or scientists to just ponder.
No.
Understanding interconnectedness has profound, really practical consequences for how we live our lives, how we relate to each other, and I guess how we structure our societies.
That's exactly right. This perspective fundamentally reframes our understanding of ethics, psychology, social action, the works. It shifts us from thinking of ourselves primarily as isolated individuals
Mm.
to seeing ourselves as relational beings, beings whose well-being is intrinsically, inescapably linked to the entire community of life around us.
Chief Seil's quote comes to mind here.
Oh, yes. It captures this ethic beautifully. Humankind has not woven the web of life. We are but one thread within it. Whatever we do to the web, we do to ourselves.
So powerful.
When you truly internalize that, harming another being, exploiting a species, degrading the environment, it isn't just an external act anymore. By definition, it becomes an act of self-harm.
So does truly grasping this interconnectedness actually change how we think about something as basic as compassion? Is it more than just a nice idea, like a logical outcome?
I think it is, precisely. Buddhist psychology, for instance, illustrates how genuine compassion arises directly from experiencing this deep interdependence.
How so?
Well, just as you instinctively care for an injured part of your own body, right?
Yeah.
An awareness of our profound connection to all beings naturally fosters empathy for their suffering. Our personal happiness is simply intertwined with the happiness of others. There's
Yeah.
no real separation.
Okay.
And this has urgent implications today for environmental stewardship, for social justice. It powerfully challenges anthropocentrism, that idea that humans are the center of everything.
Right.
It recognizes the intrinsic value of all life. It gives us a solid moral basis for protecting biodiversity, for mitigating climate change, not just for human benefit, but out of a sense of kinship.
Mm-hmm.
And crucially, it demands environmental justice, acknowledging that environmental degradation disproportionately harms marginalized communities. It calls for a truly global civic responsibility.
And it seems our personal well-being is deeply tied into this too. I remember reading that loneliness is actually a massive health risk.
It absolutely is. Huge. Research shows a lack of social connection is a greater detriment to health than obesity. It's comparable to smoking 15 cigarettes a day,
Wow.
and potentially twice as harmful as obesity. Conversely, strong social connections. They lead to lower anxiety and depression, higher self-esteem, stronger immune systems, faster recovery from illness, and get this, a remarkable 50% increased chance of longevity.
50%. That's incredible.
It is. Our brains are literally wired for this. They release oxytocin during positive social interactions, which fosters trust and bonding. We need connection.
And the very idea of self, our identity, it seems that fundamentally changes with an interconnected worldview too, doesn't it?
Yes, profoundly. Many Western cultures, as we said, tend to see the self as discrete, autonomous, like a separate unit.
Right, the individual.
But these interconnected traditions suggest that a truly independent, isolated self is ultimately an illusion. True liberation, like in Hinduism, for example, comes from waking up to one's identity as part of the totality of all being. And this is a powerful idea. Your unique hopes, your dreams, they don't get diminished. Instead, they gain immense depth and meaning when you understand them in the context of this vast, intricate web of relationships.
That's a beautiful way to put it.
And think about this. When groups of people act from this shared understanding, truly powerful movements for systemic change can emerge.
Like historical examples.
Definitely. Think of the American Civil Rights Movement, the anti-apartheid movement in South Africa, even more recent ones like #MeToo and global environmental movements. They all demonstrate this power
How?
by building coalitions, fostering a shared identity, leveraging that collective voice to achieve what seemed impossible. Change happens through connection.
What about technology, though? Because on the one hand, it connects us globally in ways never before possible.
Right.
But it also seems to divide us sometimes, creating bubbles.
That's a crucial point.
Mm-hmm.
Technology definitely plays a dual role here. Digital platforms can be incredible tools, yes,
Yeah.
facilitating global connections, mobilizing action, but they also carry significant risks. They can foster echo chambers, amplify misinformation, and paradoxically cause profound social isolation, despite the appearance of connectivity.
Yeah, I see that.
A conscious approach to technological design, one that prioritizes genuine human connection and deep understanding, not just clicks and engagement. That's absolutely essential.
Right.
Many of our biggest modern problems, the mental health crises we're seeing, political polarization, escalating inequality, climate change, you can actually view them as symptoms of a dominant worldview rooted in separation and disconnection.
That's a powerful frame.
And it implies that our solutions must be holistic. They have to be systemic. They need to actively foster connection to ourselves, to each other, and to the natural world. It really paints a clear pathway. Interconnectedness fosters responsibility,
Mm.
which leads to strong social and ecological bonds, and those bonds are ultimately the foundation of true flourishing.
Okay, this concept of universal interconnectedness is incredibly compelling, as we've definitely seen. But, to truly appreciate its depth and its power, we also need to approach it with some intellectual rigor.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's critical. We need to be able to navigate the philosophical complexities, avoid potential misinterpretations, and crucially understand the boundary between legitimate science and what can quickly drift into pseudoscience.
Okay.
So one philosophical challenge is whether interconnectedness inevitably collapses into monism.
Monism, the idea that only one thing exists.
Exactly. The idea that only one ultimate substance exists and everything else is merely an aspect or manifestation of it. Some critiques argue that if you take the Buddhist idea of no self,
Yeah.
anatta, to its logical extreme, well, if there are no distinct things, then there's nothing to interconnect. There's just one undifferentiated whole.
Right.
Yet it's important that many Buddhist schools actively reject strict monism.
So it's really important to distinguish between monism, non-dualism, and interdependence. They aren't all the same thing.
Precisely. They are distinct concepts. Monism, as we said, implies a single, undifferentiated substance. Non-dualism is a bit different. It primarily rejects fundamental dichotomies, like subject-object, mind-matter. It affirms that these binaries aren't fundamental to reality. Think Taoist yin and yang, inseparable poles of a single process.
Okay.
Then interdependence, like in Buddhist Pratityasamutpada, is often presented as a middle way. Phenomena are seen as conventionally real and distinct. A table is a table, but they utterly lack independent existence. Their reality is purely relational.
That's subtle.
It is. The Hawaiian school of Chinese Buddhism used this stunning metaphor of Indra's net.
Indra's net.
Imagine a vast, infinite web stretching out in all directions. At each intersection, there's a shining jewel, and each jewel perfectly reflects all the other jewels in the entire net.
Wow.
It describes what they call unimpeded interpenetration, where every single phenomenon contains and is contained by the whole universe, without collapsing into one undifferentiated substance. It affirms both radical interconnectedness and a richly diverse world.
That's beautiful. Okay, now, quantum mechanics. It often seems to get pulled into some, let's say, pretty wild claims that stretch way beyond what the science actually supports.
Oh, yeah?
We hear terms like quantum mysticism or even quantum quackery.
That's unfortunately very true. It's what happens when legitimate scientific concepts are misused, or sometimes grossly distorted, to support unrelated metaphysical or, New Age claims, often making these huge illogical leaps based on what are really just coincidental similarities in language.
Like the classic one, the observer effect in quantum physics proves that consciousness creates reality.
That is probably the most common and persistent misinterpretation, yes. In physics, an observer is simply any physical interaction or measurement process that causes a quantum system to collapse from a state of possibilities into a definite state.
Doesn't have to be a person looking.
No, it absolutely does not require a conscious human observer. The vast majority of events in the universe happen without any human observation whatsoever. Similarly, while quantum entanglement is indeed a profound non-local connection, it's real, it's been tested. It absolutely cannot be used to transmit information faster than the speed of light.
Right. That's key.
Which means it doesn't support speculative ideas like telepathy or psychic healing, things like that. This limitation is crucial because it preserves Einstein's theory of relativity. No information travels faster than light.
So scientists have really pushed back hard against this misuse.
Well, forcefully so. Physicists like the late Victor J. Stenger quite rightly called quantum consciousness a modern myth built on misunderstandings. Murray Gell-Mann, a Nobel laureate, even coined the delightful term quantum flapdoodle to describe this kind of thing.
Flapdoodle. Love it.
Michael Shermer, the skeptic, cautions against our brain's natural tendency for patternicity.
Patternicity.
Our urge to find meaningful patterns even where none actually exist, and our deep desire to map convenient stories onto our worldviews.
Yeah.
Often, he points out, this is a form of the God of the gaps fallacy, seizing on genuine scientific mysteries or complexities to insert a preferred mystical explanation without any actual supporting evidence.
Right. Filling the unknown with what you want to believe.
Exactly. And it's absolutely crucial to distinguish this kind of pseudoscience from the legitimate philosophical inquiries of deep thinkers like David Bohm. Bohm used quantum phenomena as inspiration to develop new, holistic scientific frameworks, which is very different from trying to prove pre-existing mystical beliefs with quantum mechanics.
That's a really important distinction.
It is.
Okay, so wrapping this up,
Yeah.
this deep dive has really shown a remarkable convergence, hasn't it?
It really has. From the ancient insights of, say, a Buddhist monk meditating on reality, to the precise mathematical formalisms of a quantum physicist,
Mhm.
and the careful observations of an ecologist studying a forest.
Mhm.
Despite these vastly different languages, different methodologies, the underlying pattern that emerges is strikingly similar. A dynamic, interdependent, and profoundly interconnected whole.
And what's so powerful, I think, is that this is far more than just an abstract idea for discussion. It's genuinely a transformative lens. It reshapes our understanding of ethics, our psychology, how we function as a society.
Exactly.
It gives us this robust foundation for compassion, for collective responsibility. And as we saw, it directly aligns with scientific research showing that connection is just fundamental to our very well-being.
Yes, and it also provides a really useful framework for understanding complex global crises, things like climate change or social polarization. We can see them not just as isolated problems, but perhaps as symptoms of a deeper systemic disconnection.
Which points towards solutions.
Exactly. It points it directly towards the need for holistic solutions.
Yeah.
Solutions that actively foster connection on all levels.
So, as you, our listener, go forward from this deep dive, what does this understanding truly mean for you? What's the takeaway?
Well, I think it means recognizing that a true, meaningful appreciation of interconnectedness really demands intellectual rigor. It requires understanding the nuances, the distinctions we've tried to touch on today, and critically differentiating between legitimate scientific inquiry, genuine philosophical exploration, and claims that are, frankly, unsupported. The concept of this universal web, this deep connection, is simply too important, too profound, to be diluted by vague generalizations or, wishful thinking.
Well said. We truly hope this deep dive encourages you to continue this open and critical dialogue between science, philosophy, contemplative traditions in your own thinking, in your own life.
Because ultimately, building a coherent understanding of our universe and our actual place within it,
Mhm.
well, that can only really be woven together by embracing both the analytical tools that help us make critical distinctions and the holistic vision that constantly reminds us that we are, and we have always been, part of an inseparable whole.